Hey, guitar dudes and dudettes, what's up? You know, when you move and you pack all your stuff up in boxes and you get to your new place and you're not quite exactly sure where you're going to put everything, so you end up stuffing half of it in the attic and then you kind of forget about it. Well, that's kind of what we did about a year and a half ago. And recently I was putting away some Christmas decorations and I ran across such a box and have found a scrapbook that has concert tickets going back to when I was in high school, and also a lot of the Backstage Passes and other things that I collected when I was a limousine driver in my mid-20s. I'm gonna bust it out and take a look at it. Thought maybe you guys might be interested in seeing some of that stuff too. If so, hang on, here it comes. Rock on. So here's a look at some of the concert tickets that I've collected all the way back to when I was like a junior in high school, starting with my very first concert up here at the top, which was Ted Nugent, Crocus, and Blackfoot general admission show at Market Square Arena in Indianapolis for a whole $7.50. And the reason I point that price out is one of the most recent concerts that I've seen is I took my son to go see Ted Nugent last summer in July of 2018, and the difference in the price, $63. Of course, that included $3.50 for parking, but that's quite a, I don't know what inflation rate is between 1981 and 2018, but suffice to say, ticket prices have gone up. So that was a great concert to start off with my first ever major concert. But what topped it was only a few days later, because on July 9th, 1981, I saw Van Halen, and that was just an amazing show, $8.50. I don't think I will ever forget that show as long as I live. It was spectacular. Of course, they were in the middle of their heyday, and at the ending of the show, the entire light stanchion above the stage rotated down and lowered to stage level, and it was a giant VH that just lit up the entire arena, and you could feel the heat off of it. It was like the service of the sun. Amazing concert. And of course, then I saw ZZ Top. This is the Eliminator kind of time period for ZZ Top, with special guest Loverboy, who was a big act. And of course, this is still 1981 August. And then a few months later, I saw AC/DC, November 28th, 1981. That was 5 days after For Those About to Rock was released in stores. So it was a concert that consisted mostly of the hits, previous Highway to Hell and on back, but Back in Black especially. They opened with Hell's Bells, and they closed the show with For Those About the Rock with a zillion cannons. Unbelievable concert. Then I saw one of my favorite bands from back to the 80s. I love Cheap Trick. Special guest Aldo Nova. I think he was a one-hit wonder, but that was a pretty good show. Queen and Billy Squier, and this is now in 1982, summer of 82. Queen was disappointing in that show. For whatever reason, their sound quality, I remember specifically, was not good. Billy Squier blew them away in that. Now we're up to a whole $11.50. Of course, that's Queen. They're one of the biggest acts in the world at this period of time. REO Speedwagon, they were a big favorite back in the day. Loverboy again. This ticket down here, Kiss with Wendy O. Williams and the Plasmatics, represents one of the biggest disappointing days of my entire life. February 24th, 1983. Peter Criss had already left the band Kiss, but I was unaware of the fact that Ace Frehley had been replaced by Vinnie Vincent, and I did not find out until I was standing in line for this concert, waiting for the doors to open, when someone in the crowd told me that Ace was no longer in the band. So I got in there expecting to see Ace Frehley, and there was this other dude dressed up like some kind of Egyptian thing named Vinnie Vincent, and I was really bummed. Foghats. Can't remember who they were with. Might have been Crocus again. Up here we got some more AC/DC. We have some more Van Halen. Quiet Riot with special guest Whitesnake. That was a rockin' show. Ronnie James Dio, and they had an amazing laser show. That's probably the best laser show I've ever seen. First time I ever saw Motley Crue, 1985. I believe this was Theater of Pain, maybe. That was a pretty good concert. AC/DC again, Ozzy Osbourne. This was awesome. Van Halen again. You'll see a theme here. There's several bands you'll see roll through more than once. You know, you go see your favorites. My all-time favorite band, first time I ever got to see them, Aerosmith. Of course, that's after the reunion. So that was great. They all got back together. I was happy about that because I was a huge Aerosmith fan growing up. And then when they broke up, you know, for me, for my generation, or at least for me personally, it was like when the Beatles broke up. I was like, no way. You can't have Aerosmith without Joe Perry in it. Def Leppard, that was in their heyday. Aerosmith again. Rush. Just Tom Sawyer drum solo is worth the price of admission there. Rush again. Bad Company and Damn Yankees. Damn Yankees is Ted Nugent and, the guys from Styx. That's right, guys from Styx. Van Halen again. This is outdoor concert. Roy Clark, you may be laughing. Let me tell you, Roy Clark, dude, that guy, he could flat out shred. A bunch of Motley Crue tickets. These all relate to the time when I was a limousine driver. Same with this Eric Clapton ticket down here. Tom Petty. That was a good show. This Tom Petty right here, this concert's in my top 5. Saw them in Dallas at the Starplex Amphitheater. That is at the Fairgrounds in Dallas-Fort Worth. That was an amazing concert. We were up front, and I'll never forget that show. Kiss reunion tour. This was fantastic. Also saw that in Dallas at Reunion Arena, which I don't think it's there anymore. That was a good show. Well, now that you sat through that long-winded dissertation on all my old concert tickets, this is probably what you're more interested in. These are backstage passes and memorabilia and autographs that I collected during my time as a limo driver. It was a pretty cool time in my life. I was in my mid-20s. And going to school in Indianapolis and working nights as a limousine chauffeur. I met my wife chauffeuring for her 21st birthday party. You know, I was single, so, you know, I had my own place. I had a fast car that was red with a cell phone in it, and I was living the high life. Whereas this is like, you know, late 80s, mid 90s. So, you know, think Miami Vice in Indianapolis. So anyway, one of my most prized possessions here is this Motley Crue World Tour VIP pass that was given to me by Nikki Sixx on the Motley Crue airplane. The last few minutes or moments that I spent with them, I was lucky in that during my time as a limousine driver, Motley Crue happened to be on the Dr. Feelgood tour. They played a show in Indianapolis, which you know, I got to pick them up the day before, take them to their hotel. Spend the whole day. They basically had the car 24/7 whenever they wanted it. Take them to the show, get backstage, so on and so forth. But what really made it cool was later on the same tour, they had a different leg that came back through Indiana again. They played at Terre Haute and in Fort Wayne, Indiana, but they stayed in Indianapolis in between those two shows. So for maybe 5-6 days of my life, I you know, hung out with Motley Crue basically. So it was pretty cool. Business card from one of the guys that was in charge of running the tour, and this really cool pin that was given to me almost kind of as a tip by the head of their security. And I literally put this on the lapel of my limo driver outfit and wore it while I was driving. So that was it was a really cool, fun time of my life. These other backstage passes, this one came from a package that we bought to get backstage. This one was given to my son. I took him to go see Kiss and Motley Crue. And a nice lady that was sitting near us after the show, I think he was maybe 13 or what have you, gave him her pass. So that was pretty nice. So I got some other cool things in here. Again, you know, obviously I already told you I drove Motley Crue several times during their Dr. Feelgood tour. These are the actual backstage passes that you get when you're staff or a limo driver, what have you, and they change them up all the time. So you can see this is show number 76. This is show number 134. So it was on a different leg of the tour, obviously, but they change them up so that, you know, people don't sneak back in at a different show, what have you. Some autographs. Of course, I didn't ask for too many autographs. As a limo driver, you're trying to be professional. You're working for these people. But when you get to be around some of your favorite musicians, you sometimes take the opportunity anyway. So I got Nikki Sixx here. Thank you tons. Motley Crue, Hero Crew here on Sixx. To Brian, Keep Rude Dude, McMars. McMars is actually from Huntington, Indiana. I don't know if you know that or not. Cheers, Brian from Alex Van Halen, 1981. Keep Rockin', Michael Anthony. I drove Van Halen on the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge tour in 1991. That was the Sammy Hagar era. Sammy Hagar is possibly one of the nicest, most genuine, happiest people I have ever met. That guy is high on life. Very first job I ever did as for a band or anything big time was the Rolling Stones. I didn't have any of the band members. I had backup singers, but it was still pretty cool. They all flirted with me, so that was cool. They were ladies, by the way. ZZ Top, that was a lot of fun. Each member of the band had their own limo, and I had Billy Gibbons, and it was really, really a lot of fun to drive Billy Gibbons. He was really cool. He had his girlfriend Gilligan with him. I believe they're still a couple. I think they're still together. Damn Yankees, and this is Ted Nugent and the guys from Styx, and I think I had them in a van, actually, not a limo, but that was pretty fun. They were crazy. Guns N' Roses, back-to-back nights. This was the Use Your Illusion era. Man, I got some stories about this. This took place about 5 weeks before the big riot in St. Louis that Axl pretty much instigated. And he was already in that mode, and he's from Indiana, and he doesn't like Indiana. And he wasn't going to play this first show. He finally showed up about an hour and 15 minutes late after the promoter threatened to sue him for everything he was worth. But the rest of the guys in the band were really cool, especially Matt Sorum, the drummer. He was the drummer by then. That's who I had primarily, and he was super cool. But wow, that was some times I won't forget. Eric Clapton, one of the few times in my entire life that I was like tongue-tied around a celebrity was this April 19th, 1990. I didn't have Eric in my car. I had other guys in the band in the car, but after the show, I was standing by the lead car, and he comes walking out, so I opened the door for him, and I just, all I could think to say was, hi, hi. And he was like, hello, mate, and, hops in the back, and I'm like, whatever. I think that was Australian accent. Sorry about that. But I got to drive him again. That was pretty cool. Rod Stewart was a really special deal because it was just me in the front of the limousine and Rod in the back on the way to the show, and he played a cassette tape that he brought with him, and he sang to it to warm up, and I got my own little private Rod Stewart concert, which was pretty cool. And then I guess one of the final backstage passes I have in this scrapbook is In Excess. That was a really cool show, of course, before Michael Hutchinson passed away, but those guys were all really weird. That was kind of a weird deal. So that's all the ones I've got in this scrapbook that I've found so far. So I know that was long-winded and drawn out, but I hope you enjoyed it. I really appreciate you guys. And as always, rock on.